This is News Tab at 6, the most watched news team in Abilene and the Big Country.
Shocking testimony this afternoon in the Bill Chaney trial. Good evening. Chaney is accused of indecency with a child. Things at the Jones County Courthouse have wrapped up for today.
News Tab court reporter Janice Cochran is standing by live in Anson with the latest. Janice?
Bob, Lauren, testimony did take an unexpected and shocking turn today in the indecency trial of the longtime television personality. In a courtroom bombshell, a 29-year-old mother of three told jurors that she was the runaway girl retrieved by Doug Worthington from Chaney's house in the early 80s. The woman claimed she stayed at Chaney's Southside home for a week and a half in 1981 after running away from Abilene Girls' Home. While in the house, she claims she witnessed sexual contact by Chaney with a teenage boy, saw pictures of naked boys with a naked Chaney, and participated with Chaney and other boys in pot and wine parties. Chaney emphatically denies any of this ever happened. Late in the day, Painter's investigator, Wayne Knowles, took the stand to say that he had new information of a known child molester convicted of indecency with a child in 1983 who lived in the South 3rd area, testified to by Harmony Family Services Director Worthington. The man is said to resemble Bill Chaney. Painter asked for a continuance to look into this new evidence. Judge Quay Parker refused to grant one. Among other witnesses were Chaney's most recent little brother and his mother, Big Brothers Big Sisters program director Diane Livingston, and KTAB co-workers of Chaney's, Fran Atkins and Larry Fitzgerald. All spoke highly of Chaney's character, with the 15-year-old boy's mother saying Chaney filled a, quote, important niche in her son's life as a positive male role model. The boy also denied any improper behavior ever took place during his and Chaney's one-year relationship in the Big Brothers Big Sisters program. Bob?
All right, Janice. Well, things, as you say, are wrapped up for the day. What happens next? Something tomorrow?
Yes, indeed. Jurors will be back here at the Jones County Courthouse in the 259th District Court to hear closing arguments from both DA Jack Willingham and defense attorney Ed Painter, and then they'll get the case and they'll decide the fate of Bill Chaney.
All right, Janice Cochran reporting live from Anson tonight. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Janice. A former district attorney of Brown County has been convicted of 5 counts involving illegal dealings with the Early Bank in Brown County. 66-year-old George Day was found guilty by a federal jury in Lubbock this afternoon after 2 days.
The trial ended in a mistrial. 3 votes have prevented the acquittal of KTAB weatherman Bill Chaney on charges of sexual misconduct with a young boy. Chris Davis-Jones reports on Saturday's developments from the Jones County Courthouse.
Bill Chaney quickly leaves the Jones County Courthouse with a friend late Saturday night. No closer to vindication than before the grueling week-long trial.
Mr. Chaney, do you have any comment?
No, I cannot comment.
After 9 hours of deliberations, the jury can't agree. Judge Quay Parker declares a mistrial. Chaney is accused of fondling a 13-year-old boy and exposing himself to the child during a camping trip last June. The jurors all conclude Chaney didn't touch the child's breast, but they were split on the exposure charge, 9-3 in the defendant's favor. On the stand, Chaney admitted he bathed nude in the North Anson Lake while the boy went skinny dipping. So what did the jury spend most of the 9 hours discussing?
One of the stumbling blocks was the instruction or the law that says that intent must be proved beyond a reasonable doubt.
Jury foreman Frank Jones says the incredible testimony of the former runaway accusing Chaney of illicit sex acts some 14 years ago played a minor role. However, Jones County District Attorney Jack Willingham remains undaunted, despite the fact that most of the jurors came down on the weatherman's side.
I intend to prosecute the case.
Bill was disappointed that a verdict did not come down. To that extent, his life is still in limbo. You know, Bill's been out of doing what he loves to do for 7 or 8 months now. It's extremely stressful.
If Chaney is unsure of what lies in the future, so too is his employer. KTAB TV General Manager Wayne Roy tells K-Texas News, "We don't know what is going to transpire at this point. We recognize this has been a very trying and tragic circumstance for everyone involved." Though still on the payroll, Chaney has been off the air since the allegations first came to light. No one can say when, if ever, Bill Chaney will return to television in his original role as a weather forecaster. In Anson, Chris Davis-Jones, K-Texas News 12.
And although the jury agreed on one count against Chaney, he must be retried on both the contact and exposure allegations, and he still faces an additional charge of solicitation with a child. No word yet when the Jones County DA plans to retry Chaney. 2 convicted killers, including a Taylor County man, are supposed to die in Texas death chamber early Tuesday morning. If Clifton Russell...
But this time, he wasn't the focus of attention.
News Tab's Janice Cochran joins us now on set to report on today's hearing for District Judge Quay Parker. Janice?
Bob, Lauren. Defense attorney Ed Painter accused Judge Parker of showing bias and prejudice against Chaney in his recent indecency trial. A full day of witnesses later, visiting Judge David Hike of Seymour has made his ruling. Judge Parker will stay on the case since Judge Hike has decided he can be fair and impartial in further proceedings the district attorney has sworn to bring against the veteran weathercaster. A mistrial in the January case against Chaney paved the way for today's motion, pitting jurors in the case against each other. Judith Gilbreth and jury foreman Frank Jones say they should have been able to find Chaney not guilty on the charge of indecency by touching, which the jury agreed to do by a unanimous 12-0 verdict. However, no space was left on the jury verdict form for that. 2 other jurors say they found no improper behavior by either Parker or Willingham. But yet another of the Chaney jurors agreed with Gilbreth's assessment of the trial as, quote, a circus and a lynching in Anson.
Mr. Willingham got up there and talked nasty and it said all them things, you know. So I think it was sort of circus atmosphere. I don't care what that guy got on stand up there. I forget what his name was, one with the mustache. When he come, he had his mind made up that Bill Chaney was guilty, and he wouldn't change it, and he's the one that messed up the jury.
So Judge Parker will remain on the case. District Attorney Willingham says he will definitely re-prosecute Chaney, and Bill Chaney remains in limbo.
So he will re-prosecute, according to Willingham. Any date set by the DA?
Nope, no date yet, and if my reading of the situation is correct, which it may or may not be, I don't think there's going to be a date set anytime soon.
All right, Janice, thank you very much.
Funeral services will be Wednesday afternoon for a Cooper High student who drowned Saturday in Travis County. 16-year-old Alden Nermal was taking part in a church retreat at the Nameless Valley Ranch near Austin.
From the Communications Center for the Big Country in Concho Valley, this is 9 News Night Beat.
Good evening. Thank you very much for joining us for 9 News Night Beat. I'm Downing Bowles.
And I'm Bob Fields. Shonda Lee continues on vacation.
Well, topping our news this evening, a number of severe weather systems are moving through the Big Country tonight. Let's go right to Casey Curry to see what's going on. Casey?
Well, taking a look at radar, now, this is the cell that we're really concerned about.
The attorney tried to get Judge Quay Parker thrown off the case. The former KTAB weatherman stands accused of indecency with a child. Channel 9's Michael Taylor has more.
Former weatherman Bill Chaney, who is charged with indecency with a child, stepped out of the spotlight today while the judge in the Chaney trial took center stage. Chaney's attorney Ed Painter claimed Judge Parker was biased in favor of the prosecution during the first trial. One of his most damaging witnesses was former Chaney juror Judy Gilbert, who says Parker let prosecutor Jack Willingham turn the trial into a circus. Painter also tried to prove Willingham and Judge Parker met behind closed doors before the trial without defense attorneys present. Acting in his own defense, Judge Parker refuted most of the testimony and allegations presented. Judge Parker also testified he did and would preside over the case in a fair and unbiased manner. In the end, Baylor County Judge David Hajek said Parker did try the case in an unbiased manner and could preside over the retrial. Mike Taylor, 9 News Night Beat.
No trial date has been set for the retrial in the case. Downing?
A 25-year-old man was killed in San Antonio overnight when his car stalled on the railroad tracks. Investigators say Lionel Garza was trying to restart his car when a train slammed into the vehicle. He was unable to get out of his car in time and died at the scene after being thrown from the car. The car was pulled about half a mile down the tracks and burst into flames.
An accident.
Trial to a lynching. She told visiting Judge David Hike it was like a circus, with Jones County DA Jack Willingham acting as ringleader. Fellow juror Donnie Taylor agrees.
I ain't got much to say about him. I think he got up on, he one called the circus atmosphere the way he talked so nasty in the trial, you know.
Gilbreth went on to blast Judge Parker for allowing evidence she didn't think should be heard and for showing favoritism to the state. However, two other jurors who testified questioned Gilbreth's account of the trial. Kent Calhoun told the court he wondered if he and Gilbreth had served on two different juries. Judge Parker sat with Jones County DA Jack Willingham during the hearing and was allowed to ask questions. On the stand, he steadfastly denied defense allegations that he and the DA discussed the case behind closed doors.
In the end, Judge Hike ruled that Judge Parker had not shown bias or prejudice during the trial, meaning the next time the weatherman is prosecuted for indecency with a child, Judge Parker will once again be presiding. In Anson, Chris Davis-Jones, KTexas News 12.
No date has been set for Chaney's second trial.
Lyle and Eric Menendez will face their retrial together before one jury. Superior Court Judge Stanley Wiesberg made that ruling today. The Menendez brothers are charged with murder in the 1989 shotgun killings of their wealthy parents. Attorneys had hoped that two juries
At issue in today's hearing, Judge Quay Parker's instructions to jurors that several say kept them from recording an innocent finding on one count of indecency by touching. Jury Foreman Frank Jones says jurors were frustrated by their inability to separate the touching from the count of indecency by exposure. Juror Judith Gilbreth says the entire trial was unfair to Chaney, and she likened the courtroom atmosphere to a circus and, quote, a lynching in Anson. While jurors Sharon Niederland and Kent Calhoun said they felt the trial was fairly conducted, a fifth juror has told KTAB the problems in the case were caused by District Attorney Jack Willingham and by juror Calhoun.
Mr. Willingham got up there and talked so nasty and that said all them things, you know. So I think it was sort of circus atmosphere. I don't care what that guy got on stand up there, I forget what his name was, one with a little mustache. When he came, he had his mind made up that Bill Chaney was guilty. He wouldn't change it, and he's the one that messed up the jury.
After a full day of both sides' witnesses, including Abilene Reporter News court reporter Richard Horn, Judge Hike ruled that he found no evidence of bias or prejudice in Judge Parker.
Judge Hike was extremely fair with us. I'm grateful for a fair hearing and a way to air our grievances, which we consider to be real.
And so with today's ruling, Judge Quay Parker remains on the case, but Bill Chaney remains in limbo. District Attorney Willingham says that he will retry the Chaney case, but has not given any indication as to when that might occur. Janice Cochran, News Tab.
A gunman killed at least 5 people today at a Corpus Christi company before fatally shooting himself. Authorities believe the gunman, 28-year-old James Simpson, was a former employee. Dave Failing has our report.
Despite defense arguments that the judge is biased and prejudicial, Chaney is accused of fondling and exposing himself to a teenage boy last summer. A January trial ended with a hung jury. And as Chris Davis-Jones reports, the jury wasn't just split on the issue of the weatherman's guilt.
Juror Judith Gilbreth compares Bill Chaney's January trial to a lynching. She told visiting Judge David Hike it was like a circus, with Jones County DA Jack Willingham acting as ringleader. Fellow juror Donnie Taylor agrees.
I ain't got much to say about him. I think he got up there and he one called the circus atmosphere the way he talked so nasty in the trial, you know.
Gilbreth went on to blast Judge Parker for allowing evidence she didn't think should be heard and for showing favoritism to the state. However, 2 other jurors who testified questioned Gilbreth's account of the trial. Kent Calhoun told the court he wondered if he and Gilbreth had served on 2 different juries. Judge Parker sat with Jones County DA Jack Willingham during the hearing and was allowed to ask questions. On the stand, he steadfastly denied defense allegations that he and the DA discussed the case behind closed doors.
In the end, Judge Hike ruled that Judge Parker had not shown bias or prejudice during the trial, meaning the next time the weatherman is prosecuted for indecency with a child, Judge Parker will once again be presiding. In Anson, Chris Davis-Jones, KTexas News 12.
And no date has been set for Chaney's second trial. Texas is one step closer to having a spending plan. The proposed $80.2 billion budget is headed to a conference committee. The panel